Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. RFK Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here. No Brian today, so I am the one who is running the graphics right now, and I did that on purpose because then I will look great. And
yeah, I look like Max Headroom. I look like I am broadcasting inside of a VHS recorder.
Yeah, and you might be jumping around a little bit, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it because we are professionals, and this is what professionals do. We figure things out. John, how you doing, my friend? How was your weekend?
It was pretty good, I think. I don't recall I don't know. I think so. What day is it? Today's Monday?
Today's Monday.
Yeah, it was fine. I didn't do much. How about you? Oh, yeah. I went to... Nope. I went to the zoo last week. That's the one thing that's been notable. Did you do anything fun this weekend?
I went to Richmond. So
that's fun.
I spent some time in Richmond. So I got use the long weekend, had to use PTO because my company are jerks. Just kidding. I love them. They're great.
That's right. In case they're listening.
In case they're listening. But did not get Friday off, had to use PTO. They gave me some generous PTO, so it all works out in the end, right? That's what they tell us. It all works out.
That is what they tell you. You get the pizza, dinner. They bring in the pizza sometimes. That's probably too.
Well, I work remote.
Virtually.
So I don't know how that exactly.
Do they send you a virtual pizza?
I've done like weekend go lives where they feed you. So they force you to work like obscene hours while we bring systems online, but then they kind of figure it out, or they kind of give you food, or they like, here's some food, so you don't have to worry. You don't have to leave your desk. You can just go eat here.
Just keep working.
Anyway, we can tell we are really trying to avoid talking about DC United because there's been very little news to talk about. And this is mostly going to be a NWSL MLS league type show, I think, is going to be the main points of conversation.
I think that's right. And before we get started, for those of you who are listening to this podcast, this is my everlasting reminder to tell you that you should follow us on Threads. You should follow us on Blue Sky. You should follow us on Twitter still, because that's where most of you still are. And if you like, so right now we're on an every 2-week episode. So this will come out, if you're on Patreon, it'll come out the night of the 13th. Everyone else will get it on the 14th. Next week, there will be no regularly recorded show on Monday, but there'll be a Patreon show for the people who are $5 and up. So if you want to have us every week, that's the only way to do it right now in the off season. And that continues throughout the regular season. So when that happens, we have a show every week on Monday, and we also have a Patreon show on Fridays. And that does not ever get released to anyone else. So just keeping that in mind. And if you want to support us in another way, you could also subscribe to us on Twitch, or you can follow us on goals.tv. Right now, there will be people watching us on Goals TV, and they'll say, wow, somebody has a really good camera, and someone is using a flip phone from the year 2003. But that is actually what I look like. I'm actually very pixelated. If you see me in real life, this is what I look like.
Yes, I think there's a whole thing with Black Mirror. There's like a Black Mirror episode where like everybody is like pixelated and everything. I forget the episode. It's like if you're like really bad or awful, or you can literally block somebody from seeing like the actual face. It's very very funny, very very weird show.
Kids are into like using original iPhone cameras right now. Like that's like the cool thing is to like use a lo-fi 8 megapixel. So we're just talking to the kids. We're rizzing up the kids.
Yeah, I don't see this on the rundown, but I think I'm going to go ahead and get us right back on track and open up the show. Because we merged the podcast, we can talk about whatever we want. And I think the most prudent thing to talk about is the NWSL Final. John, did you get an opportunity to partake in watching the NWSL Final?
I did, and so much so that I enjoyed it. I decided as I was watching that I will now go to every NWSL Final, wherever it is located, every year. Because it's like the Super Bowl, but a lot more affordable. So I'm going to do that. I think that's my plan. Either as a media member, or if credentials are harder to come by, which I assume they would be for the final. So if I can't get credential, then I'll just go. I'll just be a guy there.
Yeah, there was lots of Spirit alumni in the group.
Tara McKeown posting Instagram from the stadium, so she was there. That's near her hometown, I believe.
There was also congratulations to the East also on winning the skills competition in Aubrey Kingsbury for the signature goalpost hitting of, I guess, was the crossbar challenge that they did. So congratulations out to her on winning that.
Next time, stream that on Twitch. Next time, guys, do something with that. Put it somewhere.
Or on this fantastic new media deal, which we'll get into. We'll get into in a minute. First, let's talk the game. Obviously, Gotham New Jersey Gotham FC. Are they Gotham FC or are they just Gotham? I think they're Gotham FC.
I just know now that they're called the Bats, which is something I didn't know before, and now I know.
Defeated OL Reign 2-1. Soon OL Reign will no longer be OL Reign. They will probably be Seattle Reign or Seattle something, as they are rumored to be being purchased by Seattle Sounders. We might get into that discussion a little bit. I think that has some adjacent Spirit news, but obviously I think the biggest and most crushing story of the game. This was the advertisement was very much leaning heavily on the both Ali Krieger and Megan Rapinoe are retiring after the season. So this was the big sort of final, like who's going to get the great send off. Neither player, funny enough, had ever won a NWSL championship. Ali Krieger got the closest, you could say, when she was a member of the Washington Spirit in 2015. I want to say, when she made that run and losing to the Western New York Flash. Meg Rapinoe's made a few appearances, but never won the NWSL championship. So this was an opportunity for one of them to go out on a swan song and get the recognition, the sunset with the trophy in hand out into the distance. I'm sure, all due respect to Ali Krieger, but Megan Rapinoe certainly has the grand marketer. I'm sure a marketer was also not happy when Megan Rapinoe tweaked her ACL very badly.
No, she did not tweak her ACL. She, I
was trying to be nice. Okay, yes. I know. She wrecked it. She wrecked it.
No. She yeeted her Achilles. It was not her ACL.
Achilles, right?
She, as post game, she said she effing yeeted her Achilles, which will go down in a stone tablet somewhere as the best line at a soccer press conference. So there's that. But yeah, like people were saying it was the turf, but I think it was when it's your time, it's your time. Yeah. And it was her Achilles gave out. They said, we're done soccering now. It's over.
Yeah. So she fortunately had to exit in the third minute. Not great. That sort of left Rose Lavelle being one of the sort of main creators out there. Maybe didn't do so well defensively on a couple opportunities, but did very well offensively. This game really could have, I think this game probably deserved to go to extra time. Both teams were generating chances. The Gotham get the benefit of a very wonderful Midge Purse goal. I mean, she just cuts through the entirety of the Ola Reign defense, finds Lynn Williams sitting there and scoring the goal. Lynn Williams, by the way, picked up her 4th NWSL championship, I believe. So she is like racking them up.
She just needs a ring for the thumb now, I think, at this point. I think is the move.
Not with the same teams, mind you, but she is bounced around a little bit between teams. But she follows success. I don't know if she's in free agency. Maybe the Spirit should go and pick her up because maybe she wins championships.
So the Midge Purse note that everyone should realize that there's a picture of her right now on social media smoking a cigar with her trophy. And it's like the Michael Jordan trophy picture, and it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's the coolest NWSL picture to have ever been captured ever. So check that out if you haven't. And just like a last one on the game, I think that there was some really confusion in the second half where Quinn gets brought in as a defensive, like as a holding midfielder, and they take off their best attacker up to that point. So just Laura Harvey making sort of a weird choice. I think her game plan got thrown up in the air and turned inside out with Rapinoe getting injured at the beginning. But, Gotham should have scored another goal. I think they hit the crossbar and they hit the post in like a 2-second series. So they were certainly their pressing was just overwhelming. The OL Reign had a stifling defense all year long, but it looked like Gotham had sort of figured out how to generate chances with that press. So congrats to them. They're the first team to do I think they're the first team to do the last to first in a year. So, I was talking to my friend during it and I was just saying like, I'm cheering for Gotham right now and then never again. Like as a Spirit follower, like this is we're just taking the best of a bad bunch here. And the off season began immediately after, and a lot of things are going to actually have to happen in short order. So there's that. If you're a Spirit fan, lots of stuff going to happen here in the next, 6 weeks.
Yeah, maybe a coach too. They still do not have a manager.
That would be a good start. I think that would be a good idea.
A manager this part. One more thing from the game. Obviously, the wild ending happened when the Gotham, New Jersey Gotham goalkeeper On a breakaway makes basically has her. I'm gonna go ahead and call it the Luis Suarez moment, where it's like either I, stay on the field, maybe try to play this fairly, and it probably ends up in a goal, or I look at the clock. There's 1 minute left. I make a play that's gonna sacrifice me. It's a chess. I think they were playing like chess on the field, and apparently there's a whole article which I would definitely want to read about chess. That felt like almost like maybe the ability of learning chess, about sacrificing certain things to achieve certain ends, that seemed to maybe come in play here. The goalkeeper handled the ball outside the box, kind of pawed it away, maybe trying to see if she could maybe just keep at least part of her hands inside and part of the ball. Didn't work out. It went to VAR very quickly, was shown the red card. Of course, Gotham did not have a sub they could use. I think if they went to extra time, they could have used their sub to bring in a goalkeeper to go in a man down. But they had to basically put a field player in goal for like the last minute or so.
Yeah, Mandy Hott was apologizing to her teammates, saying like, I might have cost us, and they're like, dude, she was gonna score. So no, that was a good move. And Neely Martin was about to have her. What's the guy's name from Orlando City? The guy who stepped in for goalkeeper and made a couple saves.
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name. Yeah, you talking about the one in the PK shootout when they got
yeah. When I saw that, I was kind of shocked, right? Like, so her name was Neely Martin. I believe she had done that before. I think I'd heard that as well. But you just got to get that shot on frame, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to make her do something, and then hit the wall for Rose Lavelle. I was like, man, that is kind of crushing. It's not as crushing as sort of losing your talisman player in the first 6 minutes, but still, this was like you got a great opportunity. I could not believe that went that way. Yeah. But to your point, exciting.
Yeah,
just sort of a little bit of madness, and it's going to be a different year next year. You got 2 new teams. You got no Challenge Cup, most likely. And then you've got a new media deal that is going to definitely reshape the way people watch the league next year.
Let's get into that. Let's jump right into that. Probably the biggest news. I'll go and call this the biggest news week. Obviously, the championship was a big deal, but that was kind of expected. There have been sort of some hints at a new media deal, something new coming down the pipeline. We're seeing a lot of different changing media. The media landscape in soccer is changing for the American side, I should say, specifically, is changing rapidly a lot. I won't go into like all the details of games and splits and everything, but basically NWSL games are now going to be kind of split up. It's going to be on ESPN, CBS, Ion, which is a channel, and I double-checked to make sure I got this. Double-check.
It is real.
It is real. It is I think it's the old like PAX TV station that like merged over, I think, something like that. But anyway, it's available over the air, which is good news, I think, for the league to have more games sort of available for free. And Amazon Prime, I believe, like Amazon Prime will occupy the Friday night landscape, and then there's going to be obviously ESPN. There are going to be games on ABC. So this was, I believe, a $240 million deal, kind of all lock, stock, and barrel. Everyone kind of splitting the cost over 4 years. So I believe it came to around $60 million, if I recall correctly, per year, which is a massive, massive leap as far as the teams in the league. The amount of money that this team is getting, this leagues are getting, the amount of money the teams are getting is massive. And that's good news for the league. Is it good news for fans? I'm not so sure. If you like to follow your team or you want to watch every game of your team, it's gonna, you'll need cable. You'll need a subscription to Paramount Plus. They did say some games would be on Paramount Plus. You need a subscription to Amazon Prime. And I think maybe they said some games would also be on ESPN Plus, so maybe you need a subscription to ESPN Plus. So things are going to be a little more staggered than just having the Paramount Plus. I think there will be an increase in broadcast quality, and then of course also you'll need a direct to service, which a direct to consumer product that they're going to offer for basically all the other games that are not going to be on those packages. I'm a little bit annoyed by that front. I wish they could have chosen one of the main streaming partners to kind of go with rather than kind of offering their own package. I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like maybe that could have been there.
I think that there's a valuable marketing element in controlling those customers and getting those sort of relationships. I think overall it's positive. And the reason I think that is because this increased cost is going to pay out in what these broadcasts actually look like. They look oftentimes like garbage.
Oh yeah.
And it's because they don't have enough cameras on site. The caliber of the cameras isn't very good. The truck is not broadcasting at the fidelity it should, and all that theoretically now is gone. And also you will have a uniform level of quality across the board, across the league. So I think that's a benefit. I think if there's cost is certainly a concern, it would be cheaper for you to just buy a season ticket for all of your home games, and then just cross your fingers that you don't get the Ion game or too many Friday Amazon Prime games. It will be more, but I think it's growing pains of a league that is trying to get out of the sort of the curiosity bucket of like sports and into this is just like everything else. This is a major concern, and it's gonna like all things, when quality goes up, cost goes up. So I think this is a net positive. I think people complained about the Apple deal when it happened, saying, I don't have Apple TV Plus. I don't want to pay for another thing. Just let me watch it for free on YouTube, on DCUnited.com. Things change, quality gets better. And just like, it's the way the world is. It's an unfortunate thing for some folks, but I'm overall pleased with it.
Yeah,
I'm very interested to see what that NWSL.TV or NWSL Plus or whatever dumb name they're going to give it, what that's actually going to look like. Will they make some shoulder coverage so we actually get some, like, there's no NWSL weekly show except for like it's YouTube created stuff or it's Paramount Plus stuff, but there's no like league created highlights package, coaches interviews, that kind of stuff. They could do that. It's certainly possible. They got the money to do it now.
Yeah, I've always been a proponent, and I do think at the very least, the subscription services you have to buy, most soccer fans probably already have them. I'm sure they did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they did some testing, and I'm sure they've confirmed that if you get Paramount Plus, you get Champions League coverage, you get Europa League, all that. You get some Argentine, Brazilian soccer you can put on,
which I watched yesterday because Diego Costa is still playing, so I wanted to see that. Wild. He does not run very much anymore, so that's kind of funny.
Not surprising. Not surprising. And then of course, also ESPN Plus. There's still Bundesliga. There still will be USL coverage. So be following some of your local teams. Though they're moving some of their games to CBS in a different media deal on the men's side. So there's certainly, it's and Amazon Prime. A lot of people have Amazon Prime because it also comes with a lot of other benefits as far as ordering stuff online. They kind of own that whole side of the spectrum. So that would probably be maybe the one thing that maybe isn't so soccer focused that you would sort of have to go out and buy if you wanted to watch stuff. I'm somebody that is maybe part of the problem for some people, in that I do subscribe to all these services because I like soccer. But again, if money was tighter, maybe I would have to make some tough choices there. Anyway, I think you're right about the quality. I do want to see I think everybody's kind of on the side of, yes, it's annoying, but we also, there's a sort of more of a collective, it really, honestly, it reminds me a lot of what MLS was, in the early days, where it was like, yes, this might stink, but at least the league can kind of keep going, and it's in the significant growth. And I think there's still very much among NWSL, there's very much a, we want to see the league grow, and we want to see it get better. We want to see the product continue to get better. I think this is significant as far as, looking at, and another thing to look at too, you look at the, and I think there was a quote from, I believe I can't remember the player who scored the goal, but she talked about the NWSL, and she really talked about the competitiveness of the league. She's like, every game feels like a Champions League game. Like it's insanely competitive. Like I've played in Spain, and Spain, yeah, there's some good teams, but it's a lot of teams that are not very good. So the quality, the intensity isn't really there all the time, and the intensity's there for NWSL.
It's like the men's Spanish league.
Yeah.
Roasted.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I think that was an interesting point. We've talked about this league. Is it going to start falling behind, the European leagues as, they start to realize, hey, we've got massive money, and the cost of running this women's team and running the best women's team in the world is literally just a like rounding error on our balance sheet at the end of the day. So, can they really sink the money where these NWSL teams have to run like businesses, and they have to maybe not make a bunch of money right now, but certainly be self-sustaining.
They've got to start going that way. They've got to start focusing on that.
And getting a TV. I mean, they are, and I think some has been correctly pointed out. They are way ahead of where MLS was at this point. MLS was not getting these types of TV deals, kind of after they were getting very small TV deals. So I think it shows some dedication from other organizations to invest in women's sports. So overall, like great for the league as far as the money's concerned.
And even crushing the WNBA too, if you look at that. So there's even within women's sports in the United States, this is the leader for sure. Just wanted a quick note. USLW is still kicking around. I found out this week that Gretchen Ham, who was on our show a long time ago, used to work for the Spirit, talking about the Spirit, is like heading up some component of the team as they put it together for next year. Still unsure what that's going to look like or where they're going to play, but it's more soccer is better soccer. I'm sure it will be interesting to see how they fit into the pyramid.
Richmond's getting a W League team that's coming.
Really?
Yeah, it's coming next year, and they just announced their new. They used to announce the Kickers Plus. Now it's called City Stadium Plus, and they're going to give you discounts on tickets for the game.
Love it.
So love that too. There was a W League team that was going to be announced for. Or maybe it was supposed to be like a super for DC
Super League, right?
That's
the one
that's gone quiet. That's quiet. Yeah, and I think that's been quiet for a reason. In that, who was originally attached to that was going to be DC United, and then the ownership situation changed, and I think we can pretty much put that one to bed. But that's another thing to watch too. I think it's important also if you want to look at it from a soccer league wars perspective. Like this was a pretty massive blow for USL. Who's trying to make a Division I Super League. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. The new CBS deal they had did not include the Super League. That was not a part of it. So something to watch. Sorry, do you have something else you wanted to say? I kind of hijacked a little bit.
No, that's NWSL in a bucket. We continue to wait for coach news, but we have the expansion draft coming. The lists have to come. You can only protect 9 players. We saw the first trade today. I believe Orlando City traded $50,000 to Bay FC for the Leave Us Alone card.
Yeah.
So I think Jason Anderson said this. It's like it's always dangerous to be the first one to make that trade because you don't know necessarily how much that costs, that card. So right now the answer is 50,000, but we'll see if it changes as and also, by the way, that only gets them exempt from one of the 2 teams picking. So
yeah, and
that's
also
unfortunate.
And also, you talk about the expansion draft, and a lot of people have also said that free agency has kind of put a big dent in the value that you get out of that draft. It's a lot of like prospects and selecting. So I'll be curious to see who the Spirit protect, and I think they could probably lose somebody pretty significant, or at least somebody pretty. You can't protect a full best 11. So there's going to be 2 players that have started that you're going to leave off. So.
You're going to give us an opportunity to create more content after they make the protection. That'll be another show. So thank you, NWSL, for that. Appreciate that. Yep. We've got a bunch of former DC United news. Do you have any more women's soccer news before we move?
I think we wanted to say we have Emma Hayes to the U.S. women's national team.
Yes.
And the best 11, Stab made the best 11. Also, Hatch and Rodman, I believe you have second. You wrote this, so I'm going to blame you.
That was the notes. That was the notes from the Friday show for our. So the Sam Staub won best 11 for the first team, and then Ashley Hatch and Trinity Rodman won second team best 11. So congrats to all 3 of them. And Emma Hayes is rumored to be the new U.S. women's national team manager. I think that's happening. She's already gave her interview at Chelsea talking about why she's leaving. I said on the show a couple weeks ago that I would love if the Spirit could grab her, but that was wishful thinking. She is the most in-demand club manager in the women's game. So kudos to the U.S. I believe they had a short list that they announced before this with 3 or 4 names that the fans hated, like universally. They're like, this person sucks. This person has no experience, blah, blah, blah. No one can really be upset with this choice. There's a question of how she's going to do at the international level. I think that is a unimportant question based on her success at the club level and just sort of like the cult of personality she's built at Chelsea. She has built that club into a power. Also, the money's helped. They've been able to sign any player they wanted, but as a lot of clubs are doing that now. And she continues to win trophies. So I'm very, very happy about that. I'll be curious to see how the players fit in. A couple of them. I mean, Crystal Dunn played for her briefly. She did not pan out at Chelsea. Who, by the way, Crystal Dunn also a free agent. Hashtag come back to DC. But I'm trying to think if there were any other U.S. players that played for Chelsea, and I don't think there were. So I'll be curious to see if she sort of brings over the same sort of formation and attacking style. The great person to talk about that would be Andre from Spirit. What's the name of?
Hey Spirits.
Hey Spirits. Sorry. He's a big Chelsea fan, a women's fan. So I think he'd be he's the guy you want to listen to on this, but I'm excited about it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I think the question is going to be, I think she still has her duties at Chelsea. So there's a lot of concern leading up to the, how the whole lead up to the Olympics is going to be. Will she have time to implement her style? Will she really change anything or try to really reinvent the wheel? I think it would be smart to. I hope she does well. I think the concern of when. I think this is sort of a sight on the Olympics are kind of going to be our reset point. Maybe we're not really thinking about that we're going to go out and win the Olympics, but we're kind of setting ourselves up to get back on track for the World Cup, which by the way, Women's World Cup, which by the way, still has not been announced. And it's rumored, I think, that the U.S. and Mexico are looking at a joint host. So maybe they're favorites to host it come next year, and maybe that's an opportunity.
Then you should try.
What's that?
If that happens, they should try. Otherwise, I don't care too much.
Yeah. But what? In that case,
I'm saying if they win the bid, if the Olympics are in the United States.
Well, I'm saying the World Cup, Women's World Cup.
Oh, World Cup. I thought you were talking. Oh yeah, try to win. I thought you were talking about the Olympics.
No, I'm talking about.
I don't care as much about the Olympics. That's why I was saying otherwise, unless you're somehow hosting it. Let's play Ashley Sanchez every minute.
Yeah. So I think maybe that's the mindset U.S. Soccer has with that coaching hire. All right, let's shift gears. We're going to switch to the men's side of the game. Obviously, we have the MLS Cup playoffs that are rolling right along. We'll give some brief thoughts about that. Let's first talk with some DC alumni news. Kevin Paredes. First of all, congratulations to him. He is on the U.S. men's national team roster, listed as a
two camps in a row.
Two camps in a row. He's also been starting to get starting minutes, and he's been making the most of this. He got a goal, I believe, a couple weeks ago for Wolfsburg, and has continued to put starts together. So very good for him, I think, and good to see him sort of. I think there was maybe some concern. Was Wolfsburg the right move? Is he really going to develop there? I think we're starting to see more trust put in him. I think the biggest question for him is going to be, what is his position? Because right now he's just kind of like on that right side. He can play winger, he can play wing back. Again, I love Kevin, but I think his abilities as a wing back and kind of being that sort of second option, his skill set kind of is a little bit closer there. I'm not sure he has the technical ability to sort of really, and necessarily the creativity, I guess I could say, that someone like a winger could show. So I think in the game he scored, he played as kind of that wing back position, and he crashed the box, and he was that second runner in the box, and that's why the goal happened. So that's where I think you see him sort of shine, is when he's in those types of roles. But we'll see. He might get some opportunities here. Obviously, the U.S. are going in Nations League hurt. Obviously, Tyler Adams has been out.
Weah is hurt. Pulisic is probably hurt. So I was listening to a podcast that was saying that it's very possible you see Paredes start or get major minutes because of the injury depth, and seeing him not as a wing back but further up as a winger because of that. So
yeah, he's listed as a forward on the roster. He's listed as a forward on the roster. So we'll be curious to see what that is. Also, 2 games against Trinidad and Tobago, 2 very important games against Trinidad and Tobago. If you don't know, people say, "Oh, this is the Nation Leagues. Who cares?" This serves as qualification for Copa America next year, and the U.S. is not.
That actually is cool.
Yeah, the U.S. is not going to have a lot of opportunities. They do not, even though they are the host, they are not automatically qualified. They have to qualify for this. Now, if worst comes to worst, and we have a repeat of 2018 World Cup, and they do not qualify, they still get another chance. They just have to go play in sort of these play-in games. But you really, I don't think you want to go do that. You want to go ahead, take care of business, qualify. I think they will do that in this time. I think they, even without Christian Pulisic, even without Timothy Weah, there's still a lot of talent here. Gio Reyna will still be there, obviously. Really an opportunity for him, too. I think he gets kind of the reins as the guy who's going to be the creator. Obviously, Flo Balogun will also be there as well. So I think they'll be fine. Hopefully, we said that in 2018. So, Hernan Losada, remember him? He's also been let go from Montreal. Didn't last a year. There are rumors going around. Clearly a chaotic situation with the player who went to the amateur side under a different name and then got banned from said amateur side, and then someone put two and two together and said, "Oh, wait, hold on a second. This is a contracted player for Montreal." I think there was a lot of maybe some surprise from some of the pundits, people thinking that Hernan did a good enough job sort of with what he was given and maybe had an opportunity to build something different. I think Montreal just kind of skipping, DC sort of let that go into next year. Montreal kind of skipping. It really honestly doesn't seem like he really learned very much. I think he could be a fine coach in Europe where you can get away with a little bit more of that. And you don't, in MLS, you really need to be, you kind of need to be a little bit more of a player's manager, because it's not like you can just bench a player and then get rid of him, either have him quit his contract or get rid of him and bring somebody else in. There's usually cap restrictions and all those types of the things that don't exist in Europe.
No one is putting a DP and saying, go train with the academy kids.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Yeah. You have to be a coach. You have to be somewhat flexible sometimes, and you need patience. And I think it's pretty clear that he thought, well, I did nothing wrong. I'm just going to be the same person. And, it's DC that's the problem. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in his career. I don't think his career is over. I think his career is over as far as MLS is concerned.
I think DC may have also been the problem. I think that he's
100%.
the wrong word. And we'll get to that in a second.
No. I think DC is certainly was the problem.
Let's jump right to that. In fact, So we have been getting a lot of questions. Hey, have you heard anything about the new general manager? Is the general manager going to be announced soon? How about the coach? And no one knows anything. And in fact, people who are much more sourced than we are also don't know what the hell's going on, and thinking it's starting to be a problem. Tom Bogart was doing an AMA on Reddit, and I don't have the quote in front of me, but basically said, you'd think they would have done this considering they've been without a GM for over a year plus at this point, and the delay is starting to impact the quality of the position for candidates. Candidates have said they less like the job with how long it's taking. So not great, Bob. Not great at all. We have been teasing on the show that we had heard, or Ted had heard some rumblings that things were sort of set in their ways, and maybe they are, and maybe things are moving apace, but maybe they're not. And maybe we continue to be unable to make a decision. If there are some people that are thinking that this is continuing to be like a Dave Casper related situation, I don't really think it's that. I think it's something else. I think it's just about ownership and about maybe decision paralysis. They've not made good choices in the last few years. In fact, every choice they've made from a managerial or GM spot has ended in tears for quite some time. So I think they maybe don't trust their own ability to hire anyone. They had in the past had brought on a consulting firm to make those hires. Not sure if that's still in play, but this is getting to be a little ridiculous. We're mid-November. And we don't know anything yet. And the season starts pretty dang soon because the playoffs are going so long.
Yeah, and I need to look up. But I'm pretty sure. So the biggest concern I have is they have decisions they have to make on contracts. They have the options need to be exercised by a certain point. We haven't seen anything about them about their exercising contract options. Now if there is. The GM is kind of behind the curtain and says, I like Andy. I think we should bring him on. What his cap situation looks fine to me. I'm not really concerned about that. And, then they're like, okay, we're going to make that decision. Then fine. But it's going to look really weird if this team does not have a GM in place and they are making contract decisions on who they're bringing, who's staying. Like it is getting to the point where I really hope there is, like, I really hope the people that Tom's talking to just haven't heard one way or another whether they've got the job yet, and are like, well, I'm losing interest now. And the person who does have the job has been told, yes, you have the job. and they're just kind of like, again, just waiting for whatever team he currently works for to get out of the playoffs. So
considering Wayne couldn't get a call back from the front office, I would imagine that DC United is not the kind of potential employer that lets you know when you're not getting the job. You're not getting that email saying you've been removed consideration. You're probably just like floating in the wind. That's just sort of the way
that could be
goes.
it. And that's really ugh.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'm right.
Yeah, you're probably right. Honestly, man, it's just, and I think there was a whole situation, I think like in the Leeds, was it the Leeds documentary where they were trying to buy a player from Swansea and like they thought they had a deal, but it's like they had to call like 5 or 6 different people to make sure everybody okayed the deal. And I really think that's how, in some cases, how DC United is run. I feel like it's like everybody has to sign off on it, and it's kind of whenever they get around to it. And I don't know. It really reeks of a team that's just not serious. I really wanted this situation to be the point where things maybe started to turn, and maybe it will. And maybe they'll whoever they hire will come in. They'll be the point person. They'll have full control. They'll be able to make the decision. One person who makes the call, makes the ideas. And
who the buck stops with, and who will be held accountable when things don't work out.
Yeah, the accountability's there, everything. But I mean, right now, with how long this is taking, and it really does feel like, it. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get a leak soon. Who knows?
I've got the dates here that are important here. So Wednesday, November 22nd is the club deadline to submit bona fide offers.
So that's 9 days.
9 days from today. December 1st is the club deadline to exercise options. December 6th is the MLS College Showcase. And December 11th, trade window opens. End of year waivers, December 12th. And free agency opens December 13th. And then the draft is the 19th. So get to work. Hopefully, like you said, best case scenario is that we already have had a shadow GM. And it's just a matter of his team is somehow still in the running. Or something else is going on. But if not, you don't got a lot of time. I wanted to sort of talk. I started this big thing on Discord because I was walking my dog and I was bored and I thought about something. And this sort of goes in line with this discussion about what is this club? Who are these owners? What is the culture like at this club? And I was just sitting there saying, I remember back in the day, at the end of the year, they would have a banquet. And so there'd be some fans there. You could buy tickets, but mostly it was for the players and for the staff. They would give them end of year awards. They would do this whether they finished last with a wooden spoon. They would do this when they made the playoffs. They would just do it. It was part of what I remember when I was first a fan. I think the tickets were like $150, and I never wanted to spend the money, but that was the thing that happened. And then I was thinking, like, why don't they do that anymore? Or when did they stop? And, that is those type of things are, I think, they're super important to culture. I think that particularly on a team like this one that has had turnover after turnover after turnover from the front office, from the managers, from the players, there's just no continuity of what this team is supposed to be. There's no continuity of culture. It changes every 6 months. And the type of things that you can count on as reliable that will happen, that, the moon will come up, the sun will rise, you have to pay taxes. And at the end of the year, you find out who the best young player of the team was. And they get a little trophy. And that's that. There was a lot of pushback from people like, why was it there to celebrate? And they were bad and they were miserable and they just wanted to end the season and just go their separate ways. And I'm sure they were miserable, but I think that there's those type of things are important, even if you don't want to go. Like, they do this everywhere. Every club, everywhere does this. And I did a little digging, and DC United has no plans to do one of these at present. And it's already November 13th. They had their last day of training last week. Fred Priant posted that was his last day of doing training with them. So that's done. So they probably have been released to the winds. And Loudoun United did not do one. And I'm not going to say who I talked to. I'm not going to say whatever. But they were told they couldn't have one, which is kind of crazy, just from where that's coming from. I think I discussed too, like, I don't want to get too much into hearsay, but I've just heard a lot of stuff from folks, from former employees, from other people around the club that had really bad things to say about their time there, and had bad things to say about upper management. Just really, really negative things to say. And we have been, I think, aggressively even-handed. I've tried to be and tried to give benefit of the doubt where it's there, whether it's not there or not. And like, at a certain point you become in a situation where you're like, all right, well, I have to reevaluate my stance on this. I have to decide why I'm being this way, like why I continually try to find the reasoning or the bright side in it. But the club needs a reboot on culture. Hopefully the GM and coach can sort of reset that and start from zero and say, okay, here's who DC United is. Everyone who used to know is gone. We can completely rewrite what it means to be at this club, and here's what it means, and this is what it means on the field and off the field, and X, Y, and Z, and that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it next year too, and the year after that, and the year after that. Or they don't, and it continues to be sort of this weird transient organization where people come, people go. They leave no imprint on the club. They leave no imprint on the community, and it's just weirdos that remember some guys and be like, "Hey, remember when we had I don't know, whoever, Gabriel Rivas, whoever,
Guy rolling
Dennis Iappuccino, right? Guy, like you need to find some people that have an affinity besides Steve Birnbaum that have an affinity for the neighborhoods and the community that they're in, and have that. It's just important.
Yeah.
I'm broken record. It's just something that we care about because we're in that. Like that's what we care about. Well, that's what we do this show. We care about like the thing off the field, the around the 360 version of what it is to be DC United. But we're not that right now.
And I mean, this is something that, speaking from what the Kickers do, the Kickers every year, we have a fan vote for player of the season. We don't do a whole list of young player, defender. I mean, honestly, some of these guys, it's Kickers. It's hard to find, I guess, a young player that really makes a difference. But regardless, I mean, this year was a terrible year, awful year. We still had a vote, and we picked a player of who we thought was the best player of the year, and there's a trophy that's made, and it's presented at the last game. They tally up the votes before the last game, home game, and then they present it to them at the game.
That's the minimum you could do. It's easy, easy.
Yeah, I mean, and it's supporter initiated, but they still make the players kind of participate, and like you're right, that's easy. Like there's not even like. There wasn't even like usually there's like a social media post about who was our defender of the year, who was our young player of the year, who was our player of the year, our attacker of the year. Like, it's none of that. And
nope.
it really like even like a fan vote on Twitter would be fine. Like at least people would get to, and even if, the fans like, oh, no one deserves it. They were terrible. Like, yeah,
who cares? Yeah. Like there was that pushback saying like, oh, they'll just get made fun of on social media. They get made fun of no matter what anyway. So give somebody an opportunity. It's just weird. I think it's just strange. Like since the end of the season, it's like someone pulled the plug and they're just like, I don't know. You figure it out. Go watch the playoffs, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's and we talk about, I think we've been even-handed in trying to, I feel it is important in some respects to, talk about things that they do well. And there are some things they've done this year. The renovations to Audi Field, it finally feels like an actual like stadium. It finally feels like a home. But it's like you keep missing on these certain things. And even the GM search now has kind of become a farce.
Yep.
It's like we were kind of all excited. We're like, all right, we're done. Now it's new direction. I'm gonna buy the fact that Dave Casper's gone. They've realized they needed a new direction. Here we go. Let's get that direction. And then it's like November 13th. The team has last played their game like almost a month ago. We've got, New York Red Bulls have already announced that they have a new player coming in, a new designated player from their Leipzig, family. So it's not like they had to go very far, and it was probably pretty cheap as far as transfer fee, or if any transfer fee was paid. But they still like, they're a team that has talked about how they are going to be different. They're going to go out and spend, and they go out and do it. And they actually bring in a guy who's apparently really well revealed around the really well known around that Leipzig team. He's not a Thierry Henry, but he's still a
Timo Werner. Is that who it is?
No. It's a Swedish guy. But anyway,
Okay.
I'll have to go back and look at who it was. But they still went out and made that move, and it's just kind of like I feel like I'm like, all right, we like I mean it's not.
We have an open DB spot.
Yeah, I mean I look at it too, and I'm like, it's not too late right now. I mean I'm not necessarily hitting the panic button on the 2024 season, but I mean if we get to the 22nd and we don't have a GM and we're gonna start seeing these contract announcements come through. I mean, it might be some rough, some. That might be when I start getting a little worried about. Okay, what's the direction here?
The Emperor has no clothes at that point because then quite clearly Dave Casper is the one making the roster decisions for 24.
Yeah,
because there's literally no one else.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's bad. Also, we should also mention former Diego Restrepo, former DC United goalkeeper coach, now at Bay FC. So
good for him. Probably got a raise.
That's something we missed. Oh my goodness. I legitimately I wanted to be positive heading into this offseason, and it feels like it's withering away. And the whole point, I mean, the point of the by the way, I said it was the last day. Russell Canals wasted no time getting on a flight because one of my friends who's a DC United fan caught a picture of him in the airport coming back to DC. So
good for him.
Good for him. So
Russ, Wayne, speaking of, we got two more like a DC United adjacent things. Another ex DC United, Wayne Rooney, winless in his last 5. Took over a Birmingham team that was 5th when he got there. I believe is 15th now. Tight in the championship. Nightmare. Bad stuff. Fans already losing their patience. Just real bad stuff. I don't have a lot of comment beyond that, but boy, that's unfortunate. Christian Fletcher, in more exciting news, current DC United player. Christian Fletcher is certainly above the level of the under 21s at Swansea. Scored 10 goals in I don't know how many matches, probably 15 matches on his loan. His loan is probably going to go till January, I would guess. So, he's going to be a mid double digit scorer for the Swansea under 21s. There are some folks talking about what is it? Brandon Zebron asked, what does this good run with Swansea mean for his future? Do you think he sees more minutes next year? Hoping for more from Hopkins, Ted Kudibietro, and Fletcher. By the way, Ted Kudibietro is in a class above the other two below. But what do you think?
I have seen some people. Who have said that. I think I won't say who. I won't embarrass him. He's well known around DC circles. Said, he's above MLS at this point. I said, cool your jets. I don't know if you've been keeping up. I've been kind of like following some of the score lines that are happening in these U21 games. The offensive, I think this game finished 4-3. I believe, despite the fact that, he's scoring and lighting it up, scoring 10 goals. I think the defenses are not really set. I think there's a lot of rotation amongst players. I think what this serves, is this is getting him kind of in the shop window. I'm sure there are scouts out there around Europe who go to these games, who watch some of these younger players, looking for, hidden talent that they can find. He's also playing against players, U21, you think 18, 19, 20-year-olds. A lot of them, are starting to break into the starting lineup at most of their teams. So you're playing against players, who are either not good enough for that starting lineup or not even good enough to make the roster, but just need minutes. What I think this is a benefit for him most clearly is I think this is giving him match minutes while everybody else is going to be on vacation. He's going to be playing. I don't know how long it's through. Maybe it's through the first day of training camp. It's going to give him an opportunity to come back in front of a new coach, presumably not Fred Brilliant, and someone else.
Maybe though.
Maybe at this point, coming from a new coach, and he is going to be able to kind of hit the ground running, where a lot of other players are just kind of like getting their sneakers tied and getting their fitness set.
And he's going to have so much confidence.
Oh yeah,
just so much, and that that's important for a young player who got almost no minutes under 2 different managers.
And he lit it up for Loudon too. It was pretty clear Loudon was beyond him. I think this was a good move to get him somewhere else and just kind of allow him to focus. And also we have Akambone also doing the it's a DC striker GM Spain, / coach Fred Brandt. Maybe, who knows? Yeah, he's in Spain over at Villarreal.
I do think it means that he should get more minutes. I do believe he was underutilized. I think rather than putting in Eric Hurtado minutes or Jose Fajardo minutes. I think there's opportunities to give him. I think he had like 100. He had 120 minutes in 2024, 23.
Something like that. Yeah, it wasn't
for a team that missed the playoffs. Like, I think that's probably mismanagement. I think you could certainly figure out ways to give him more minutes, even at the end of games. So yeah, I think the question was, what does this mean for his future? I think it means that he is in the best position to make an impact next year that he's been so far in his career. And he may not get the Ted Kudipietro thrown into the fire and happen to turn into a great season. But I think that he will be getting more minutes. And if he doesn't, I imagine that his agent's going to say, I think we should talk to this team about maybe looking elsewhere and seeing if there's an opportunity for a year-long loan somewhere else so I can actually get minutes. Because getting sitting on the bench and playing nowhere, not even at Loudoun, for a full year is certainly not good for your development. I don't care if Wayne Rooney's your coach. You're not gaining. You're stagnant at best.
Yeah. I think it's going to be an interesting thing to watch where they look at as far as that next DP slot. If they look on the wings, then that might bode bad for him. If they look more towards the center of midfield and number 10 position, I think he could slot into one of those wing roles out there. So
if they sign a 10, where does Pirani fit in, you think?
I think you either sign Pirani or you sign a 10. And I think Pirani might be on the bench. I don't know. Right now there's no GM. Who knows if that Pirani deal is even going to come forward. He played really well in the Pan American games. I mean, there might be someone else out there who's like going to swoop in. Wanted to get to our Discord because I want to advertise our Discord.
Yeah.
And say for Casper out, if it's the Orlando guy, will you be hopeful? What if it's the Columbus guy? And will that hope be reasonable? I'm fine with either one of those. I don't know if I'll be either excited. I may be more excited. I think the Maria guy has been talked up a little bit as being like a candidate they've wanted from the beginning. So it's maybe like if you get him, they got their first choice because that's a guy they've wanted longer. I've heard good things about all GMs.
Portuguese. You'd have your second Portuguese name behind Pedro Santos. So that's a benefit for a lot of people.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, right now, I want a GM. I want a GM that's not Stuart Mears or Dave Casper at this point. Like, I want somebody else. I want to know somebody else is running the ship. I think this show will feel at least a little bit better once that situation is made. And the longer it goes on, I think the more concerned we'll be. I'm shocked that there's not anybody out there. What makes me doubt the whole is I was like, I heard that news and I'm like, I bet we're going to hear something like, that's what I was thinking. Tom Bogart would have said like, well, I've heard that, they've made their decision, but they need to wait. It's one of the finalists, but they need to wait until the playoffs are done. Who knows at this point?
That's not what we got.
Yeah, that's not what we got. I have no clue what's going on there. So,
I think it'll be by the deadline.
You think it will be?
I think in the next 10 days we're going to hear. I do.
Yeah,
I have to think that.
We'll see who's right. Well, join us on the next couple weeks show. You'll be able to hear that. Do we have any other listener questions before we?
I don't think we do. Brendan Cartwright is excited about Martin Rodriguez, and he has weirdly high hopes for him in 24. How dumb is this? I was not impressed with him when he was healthy, and he was certainly a new player, sort of, finding his feet. But I don't think he's necessarily the answer coming off of an ACL injury, particularly, certainly not the answer for major minutes. And I think he's making too much as it stands to not be able to contribute in a major way. So I'll be interested to see how his rehab's going. And I think if he is your starting left winger, it might say something to you about the other moves they've made and where they decided to spend their money. Oh, and I think still, the understanding was that the cap situation is hamstrung from win now deals that have been made. Even with all these money coming off the books, I think there's still sort of or potentially coming off the books. I think there's still sort of some challenges there. So he's under contract for another year. They might they're probably just going to ride it out. They'll just see what they get from him, and then that'll be that. But if Mohamed Giazzi is going to theoretically be healthy on the left-hand side, Maybe those two, maybe that's going to be the difference. They get a whole new left side, and maybe that's going to change things for us. Who knows?
Who has a better 2024, Giazzi or Martin Rodriguez?
Giazzi.
Yeah, I think Giazzi. I was curious, maybe
higher ceiling, I think, and isn't coming off of his injury was what, a foot?
Yeah, it was foot or something on the foot. I can't remember what exactly was.
Yeah, it wasn't an ACL though. It was not a ligament tear, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Broken ankle, I think, is what it was.
Okay.
Anyway, so it's different. I mean, Ben Olsen didn't do so great with those, but other players have done okay.
I did okay with my broken ankle.
There you go.
I fractured it, so yeah. Sometimes those clean breaks can be a little bit better. MLS playoff wrap up. I don't think we'll touch too much. I guess. Final thoughts. I've seen a lot of talk about the 3-game series. Final thoughts. After
I love it.
Yeah, everybody. I am like the people that want to go back to like the 2-legged series. I'm like, do you remember how absolutely dire? There were some exciting ones. I believe there was like a really classic Toronto Montreal game. Those were few and far between. Those were dire affairs. And like everybody complained when they had them. It was like, well, it doesn't give any advantage. Why care about where you finish in the playoffs? Because you're just going to get a 2-game series. Like exactly. Like,
and look at that Atlanta Columbus outcome for exactly why home field matters, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You need that home field advantage. You need some sort of advantage. Single eliminate. If they wanted to just keep it single elimination, fine. I think it ends a little too quickly. I think it's kind of over. I think the big detriment to the 3-game series was the way they did the schedule. It should have been Saturday, Sunday, and then it should have been Saturday, Sunday the next week for the round 2, so you get the best fans, the best environments for each of those games. And then if you need a game 3, you play it on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what happens. You could even probably just do it Wednesday and call it a day. And then then you can sneak in a conference semifinal on that next Saturday with the advantage of the teams that took care of business, get that extra rest. And then you can pretty much ride out and then you can have your conference semis and your championship. You get that nice little run up to the final. Everybody's happy. Cause I mean, the big mistake with MLS Cup was when they had it, like they had all the playoffs decided except MLS Cup right at the break. And it was like 2 weeks. And no one cared at that point. Everybody's like, I don't care anymore. So I don't know. I thought it was fine. I thought it brought some excitement. There were a lot of great moments. I thought going straight to PKs was good.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I think it's something they should consider. I think maybe they should reorder it a little bit. Maybe look at it later in the playoffs. I think could have maybe added some more excitement to it. So, and then you have down here, I just wanted to draw, like, to show John's dedication to the show, you have Rafael Augusto, who I guarantee you very few people remember. The only thing I remember him is like he first signed for the team and I scored a banger in FIFA with him. And I was like, oh man, this guy's going to be great. Me and my like 18-year-old brain thought FIFA was like the true.
You think Football Manager's the true thing.
Yes, but I have a little more basis there. They actually pay scouts to go out and do that stuff.
Rafael Augusto, the thing you should know about him is that Ben Olsen said he was the most talented player he ever coached. Most technically talented player he's ever coached. He also never played him. So clearly there was something else that was going on.
He almost won a red card. If VAR had existed, I guarantee you he would have gotten a Houston player sent off, and we would have maybe had an MLS Cup in 2012. Maybe. I don't know. It could have happened.
So he's now playing in the 3rd division in Brazil, and I don't know why that. I don't know how I caught that bit of news, but I think they happened to tag DCU in the tweet. I was like, "Hey, how about that? How you doing, buddy? Still playing? Good for you."
I think he was a guy. He was a player too that I saw, and I'm like, "Hey, I think there's some potential here." I just think the team just couldn't. Yeah, one of those things never works out.
That was in the Indonesian Messi era as well. That was just that era.
I think also like Ben Olsen had a habit of like doing that type of stuff. Like he talked up Marcus Halsey, and then at one point it was just like, nope, sorry, Marcus Halsey's not a good player.
I think there was some locker room stuff there.
Yeah. Some weird stuff. I think also some players coming in and being like, oh my god, this weight room is from like the 1950s, like at best.
Like, we should paint it. Well, that'll fix it. Actually, no, they had the supporters painted that weight room.
See, again, you talk about community type things, and I think with that gala that they ran, wasn't that also kind of run by the supporters? Like it was kind of like a supporter driven.
I think it was a fundraiser.
Yeah. So, and I remember like the Bar Brava used to have a an event, a fan event, all the time. So I think that's also been a, and again, it's part of the, I think the team culture kind of waning away as far as like, there's not a really organized supporter culture here in DC anymore. It's all gone. There's some people trying to run it, trying to keep it together. A lot of those people are doing, I think, the best they can. But yeah, that's been one thing that's kind of fallen by the wayside.
This is an old man podcast now. We're old. We're old heads. That's what it is.
We remember the RFK days. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to do it. We had an hour-long show. Maybe too long for this.
I don't even know how. How did that even happen, Ted?
Well, we started combining things, so that's how it happens.
True.
That's how it happens. All right, folks. Enjoy.
Hope you guys like that. Hope you guys like that, by the way.
Yeah. Enjoy the international break. We're going to keep doing, I think, the 2-week time frame. If there is a GM announcement, keep your eyes on the Patreon feed, or maybe join the Patreon feed to get ahead, because that's probably where that show is going to go, at least for our initial reactions to that. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will catch you guys next week. Vamos.
Vamos.